Claudia from A Rusted Crown. So today I thought I would do something vulnerable and scary and completely unfiltered. I am going to read some diary entries from years ago, and that's super scary because I keep a diary so that way I can put my thoughts and feelings onto paper so that I don't have to share them with anyone. But I think this can be really beneficial for people who are struggling with some of the same things that I was, to just feel that you're not alone. You know, someone has felt exactly the same things that you have. And for me at least, when I was struggling with feelings of unhappiness and unworthiness and my life just felt really heavy and dark, it felt super permanent. I was convinced that this was how my life was going to be forever. And the truth is it's not. You know, my life is completely different now, and nothing in life is permanent. And I think logically we know that. But our emotions just get so wrapped up in this story that we tell ourselves that it starts to feel really true. So if that means me pulling out my old diary and sharing some of the most unrevealed parts of myself to the internet, then I am happy to do that. Because whatever. You know, I've received such beautiful things from people commenting on my writing and the way that they connect with it, and it means so much to me. And I've also heard some things that made people feel differently about me or see me differently, and that's okay too. You know, as much as I want everyone to like me, you know, the fact of the matter is not everyone will, you know, and that's okay. My writing's not for everyone. And if they want to judge me based upon being a sexually liberated, recovering alcoholic who sometimes still self-harms and struggles with food, then that is their prerogative. I just don't really need to hear it. If you feel like you need to tell me, I'll listen to you. But yeah, so here it goes. And if you don't want to hear it, you don't have to. That's also the magic of the internet, is that there is a stop button. So, that being said, the first entry that I'm going to read is from Tuesday, January 16th, 2014. I had done it again. I surrendered to the darkness and allowed myself to fall deep into the emptiness. I avoided feeling with bad TV, food, alcohol, all of which made the emptiness seem more permanent. I gained weight and felt ugly and even less worthy of happiness. When January 1st rolled around, it seemed like an opportunity for a new start. Since then, I've been fiercely going to the gym, eating right, and really trying to embrace self-help articles. And for a while, I felt happy. But like always, the happiness never lasted. I am so exhausted from trying to be happy, from forcing happiness into my life. I am just a fake. Part of me thinks I am happy, but if that's true, why do I feel so empty? Why did I spend all day watching TV? Why did I take 2 shots of vodka in my car right before work? I am ready for this struggle to be over, for just one part of my life to bring happiness without me fighting for it to exist. Tomorrow I will try again, because that's all I can do. That, or allow the darkness to engulf me and steal every bit of joy that I hold on to. You know, that entry is really relevant to how I felt for a really long time. This idea of feeling empty inside, feeling hopeless and worthless, feeling like happiness just wasn't possible for me. Like, for some reason, I felt like I was, as much as I didn't like myself, I felt like I was really special. Like, I was the only person in the world that wasn't able to achieve happiness. I was the only person in the world who couldn't live a life they were in love with. Like, everyone else could. Everyone else could fulfill their dreams, but it just wasn't possible for me. And this idea of escape with food and television and alcohol was my form of self-medication. And, you know, even today, like, food is something I still really struggle with. Binge watching TV, sleeping all day. So as much as my behavior has gotten like less frequent, there are definitely times where I just need to escape for a minute. But the good thing is that those feelings of worthlessness and hopelessness and happiness, like I'm just not there anymore. You know, I feel like I have those things. Like I have self-worth and self-love. And it's so sad reading back on this that I never thought that I would get to a point where I could say that. But I did, which is pretty freaking cool. And this idea too that like changing my outside circumstances, like losing weight and is gonna like fix me, you know, and that's really what I felt. It was like my outside circumstances needed to change in order for me to be happy. And it wasn't until I learned that I was using outside things to fix a problem that existed inside that I was able to like really start working on the stuff inside me that didn't feel right. And I moved forward from there, and it was pretty revolutionary for me to kind of change my focus in that way. All right, so next, Sunday, May 25th, 2014. I am not good enough. He used me. He doesn't care about me. He doesn't want every bit of my heart. I am too messy to love. I am not good enough. These are the stories I told myself. The things my mind invented as he held me. As he told me his favorite part about sex is being naked with another person. I liked him. I thought he could be the first person to want all of me. But then we slept together, and all of the ugly thoughts in my brain started to seep out. I had to get out of there. He doesn't care about me. I didn't want to lie there and pretend he did. So I started to get dressed, and he told me I was welcome to stay. Maybe we would have stayed up all night talking. Maybe he would have made me breakfast together. Maybe we would have spent the entire next day together. But at that moment, I felt worthless, and I was too scared to let him care about me. So it was easier to decide that I didn't want him, and that I didn't want to be there. I am embarrassed and sad, and I would rather only feel good things. Oh, look, Penn has joined us. I remember this. So I met this guy through a dinner at mutual friend's house, and he asked me out on a date, and we went, and I wasn't super attracted to him. Like, I thought it was cute, but then as the date went on, to be honest, I just wasn't sure if he was straight or not while we were on the date. And but whatever, I was in this place obviously where like I desperately needed to be loved by someone. And it was a love because like I didn't love myself. So I needed someone to love me for me. And I would just take it from anyone. I would convince myself to like these people that I weren't interested in just to feel some sense of self-worth. So after the date, we went back to his house for wine, which we all know what that means. And we slept together. And as soon as it was over, I like started to get dressed. And not because I was like not into him. Like I was fine with getting to know him better. But because I created this dialogue in my head of like, he doesn't want you here. You're not good enough. He doesn't like care about you at all. He's never going to want to see you again. And these stories that I told myself, they just felt so real. Even though they weren't based on fact by any means, I completely invented them. And so I like started to get dressed. Like, I mean, like immediately after we were done. And he was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just like getting my clothes on." And he's like, "Well, I mean, like we just had sex and now like you're immediately trying to leave." And for him, that was weird. And in my head, I was like, well, doesn't he want me to leave? Like, he doesn't need me anymore. So I really, and then I never saw him again. So like, whatever. He told me he just wanted to be friends, and I was like, nah, I'm good. No, he told me that he would like to hang out again, but he doesn't want a relationship, but like he would be happy to keep hooking up. And I was like, I'm good. I don't have an interest in hanging out again. Guys can be so dumb. That is not the first time I have been propositioned by a guy to like be just friends with benefits. I'm like, that's a quite insulting proposition to give a girl. That's kind of something that just ends up happening. It's not something you propose to someone, because then it's like, excuse me, I am so much more than my lady parts. At least that's how I feel, but I've had plenty of friends with benefits. I'm so not judging it, but they just kind of naturally evolved. It's not something we like contractually decided. So anyways, but this was my experience with guys for a like super long time. I have like a really emotionally entwined relationship with sex. That was super unhealthy. Sex was a super unhealthy experience for me because I'd never been in a relationship. So I was constantly just letting guys use me for sex. And it really started to take a toll on my self-worth. And, I would have sex and I would go to the bathroom and cry. Or sometimes I would even cry during sex and like hide my head in a pillow. And I just like wouldn't cuddle. I love cuddling, but I would just like move over to the other side of the bed if I was sleeping over, but like I hardly ever did sleepovers. I tried to like bounce immediately after because I was like, they don't want me here. Like they got what they wanted. Now they probably just want to like make a sandwich and go to bed, which is super judgmental of me to like assume that's how all guys are. And it was also like judgmental towards myself to convince myself of this like super negative dialogue. But it's how it was for like years. And it wasn't until recently that I started to, like this past year, like develop a healthy relationship with sex. And a lot of it was because I developed a greater sense of self-love and self-worth, and stopped sleeping with so many guys that I don't care about. I mean, granted, I've still done that as well, but not so much recently. That like, it took a long time. Even with my current partner, like when we first started dating and like he was my boyfriend, like it took me a really long time to not like emotionally disconnect with him after sex and to like stay present and like allow him to have an experience with me that was more than just physical. Because I kind of hid that part of myself from guys during intimacy. For me, it wasn't like an emotional experience. It was just like purely physical and my brain would be somewhere else. So for me, that just took a lot of work on both our parts. Like he was aware of it and we just really like took our time and worked on it. And now I like have a great time. But yeah, it was very unhealthy. Sex made me feel really worthless for a long time. And it's my fault for putting myself in those situations. Like I would blame the guy for using me, but I allowed myself to be used by putting myself in those situations. So I can't blame him for that, And if I was presenting myself as a sex object. And so if I'm presenting myself and pretending, like even though secretly I want more from them, I want this emotional connection, I came off as like, oh, I'm super cool. Like I'm just the fun girl. Like, yeah, we can have sex and just have fun. And so that's how I'm presenting myself. So like, that's what they're expecting from me. That's what they're expecting to receive. And then when I'm like, oh, they don't love me, they don't care about me, it's like, well, how would they even know to? Because it's not even like I gave them an opportunity to think that that was an option. But that took until recently to like really understand my part in my sexual history and my like destructive relationship with sex that's existed. All right. enough of that sex talk. All right. Tuesday, I don't know why I kept putting like the days of the week, like it matters, but Tuesday, June 16th, 2014. I cut tonight. I cut and then I sobbed. I cried until there were no tears left. I felt so alone. I am alone. I haven't cut in so many months, I've lost track, but I needed to tonight. I binged on pizza and donuts and then I cut. My whole wrist is red. I feel so alone. The boy I like and who I have kissed made it clear he doesn't want a girlfriend, and he ditched me. And so I cut because I feel alone in this world. I am no one's number one person. I am alone in this world. I always have been alone. It has just become harder to deal with. I wish someone liked me enough to make me their person in this world. I have never felt so alone. I am on my own, and that scares me. I am scared. I cannot pretend anymore. I am tired of pretending. I am happy. I am lonely, I am sad, and those feelings terrify me. I feel I am nothing, and I hide it all. We have to like comment on how this writing just got progressively more aggressive and messy. I was super drunk when I remember writing this. I was super drunk. I was home alone. I got drunk by myself, and I'm sitting out on our back patio or like balcony, just like sobbing and like writing in my diary. Self-harm is something I've struggled with for a long time. The first time I cut, I was a senior in college. And, you know, I've had periods of my life where I was doing it multiple times a week, and then I've had periods of my life where I haven't done it for a year. And even now, you know, it's something that I still definitely struggle with. And it's not a frequent part of my life by any means. I mean, I go very, very long periods of time without doing it. It's often more common for me to get the urge to do it than it is for me to actually take the action. I'm able to kind of take that pause and that breath and find a different solution to release this sense of not being in control and aggression, and just it's hard to explain. It's like there's something inside you that you just like desperately need to release. And it's hard, and it's hard for me, but it's also hard for the people that I love, because there's a lot of people in my life that know it's something I've struggled with, and it's not a solution. I know that. It's a form of self-harm in the same way that like binging is, or my alcoholism, or it's just this form of escape and distraction. It can put my focus on something else. And I would love to say that I'm never gonna do it again. And that very, very might possibly be true. You know, I haven't gotten the urge in a very long time. I'm in a completely different emotional state and mental state than I was back then. But I don't know, you know, and that's the truth. I was constantly, like I said before, like looking for someone to save me. I was looking for these outside sources to like fill this giant gaping hole that was inside me. And like not my like sexual hole, like an emotional hole, although sometimes they filled a sexual hole. But I really wanted a boyfriend. I wanted a boyfriend for so long. I just wanted to feel loved, and I wanted to feel like I was worth loving and like I was good enough. And you know, today, and I didn't get a boyfriend for like, my first boyfriend was when I was 26. So like, or okay, I had like kind of boyfriends, but like my first like serious relationship was when I was 26. And you know, I've been with my partner now for almost a year. And we actually broke up in May. So he's not my boyfriend, and we're just kind of like, we love each other, and we're seeing each other, and you know, we talk every day, and we spend a consistent amount of time together, but we're both kind of in places in our life where like we need to focus on ourselves, you know? Like the truth is right now, like I want to do me. I don't want to be in a relationship. It's just, as much as I love him, it's just not a priority for me. Like I am in this place, and it's because of the work that I've done on myself, and because of the way now that I feel about myself and my perspective on my life and the world, that like my life is so big. You know, I'm going to school full time. I'm getting ready to apply to grad school. I do a lot of volunteer work. I work full time. I started waking up at 6:30 a.m. to go to this support group. And for me, it's like more important for me right now to like get to bed early so I can wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to this group than it is for me to like stay up late with a guy and like getting attention from someone else. So it's just like, I am getting that sense of like self-worth and self-love and self-care from different sources that like aren't a guy now. And it's like really awesome. Like this is the first time in my life that I can genuinely say like, I'm so happy to just be on my own, and I don't feel alone. You know, I moved to Portland by myself. I've been here for a year. I don't have really many girlfriends out here. You know, I have friends at work or at school, but not girls that I like call up that are here. All my best girlfriends are still in Rhode Island or California. But I don't feel lonely, you know, because I'm just so happy to be experiencing all these opportunities that have come into my life or that I've sought out. So yeah, it's a completely different perspective. And it's crazy too, because I'm at that age where I'm in a couple weddings this year, and I'm so happy for my girlfriends, like that they found the love of their life and that they're getting married. And I think that is wonderful and beautiful, and I couldn't be happier. But for me, that idea of like making another person a priority in my life right now is just like, no, like that's just not where I am. And I think either way, whichever where you're at, like, is fine. You know, I don't think there's like a certain thing that you should be doing at a certain age, but like I just want to like travel and explore and wander and like get higher education and like love up on myself for a lot longer before I have to be less selfish and put my attention on someone else. So at least I know that, you know, not being in a relationship, because otherwise it'd be for a pretty unhealthy one. My life's changed a lot. And it's like gnarly to like look back. And I still have a long way to go, you know? And I think that's what life is like this endless journey of working on ourselves and discovering what works for us and discovering what makes us happy. Or at least for me, you know, that's the journey that I think that I have to go down. But things are just lovely. Okay, so I think that's all. Maybe I'll do this again. So thank you for watching, and thank you for everyone that has like been supportive of this blog and this experience that I've been having. And I love it. And your support and the kind words and comments, just, they fill my soul up. And this is exactly why I wanted to start this blog, you know, so that people could connect to it. And that's awesome that it's actually happening. All right, well, I'm gonna be quiet now. Thank you again for watching, and if you haven't already, subscribe, visit arustedcrown.com to see any more videos or read my personal essays that I post on the blog. Share with your friends, and have the best day ever.